So now the Senate is considering bills seeking to ban both governor and deputy governor of the Apex Bank from participating in politics. Recall that Godwin Emefiele picked up the 100 million naira presidential nomination and expression of interest forms of the APC. Do you consider this a welcome development?
I think it's a welcome development. You never can tell that in future we won't have another CBN governor like Emefiele, a thoroughly politically exposed CBN governor like Emefiele. No one can bet that that can't happen again. The only thing we can do is to um, use the law, use the law to ensure that that doesn't happen again. Emefiele even went to the point of going to court to stop anyone, including INEC, from barring him from taking part in the political process. Now, I've never seen a CBN governor so thoroughly politically exposed as the last man, and that was why his main responsibility he failed spectacularly because he should have busied himself with his core mandate. But some individuals intent on making money off him deceived him that he was the nicest individual around uh, who could be president of our country, and for that reason, he felt he was good enough to occupy the number one seat of our country. So, if we can use the law to stop that sort of uh, aberrant behavior by a CBN governor from happening again, I'll be happy to see us use the law to stop that from happening again. So kudos to the lawmakers for the effort that they've made or that they are making to ensure that no CBN governor, no CBN governor combines its responsibility with political
That's
aspiration.
right. Okay, so Sunday Salami says Emefiele should be made to account for the amount used to print new notes. Equally, tell us the true intentions behind the new notes. Banji Okesoto says our current challenge could be traced to Emefiele, who Jide once described as the worst governor CBN ever had. Fabian Akaise says Yemi Cardoso has refused to release the names of the farmers that benefited from the Anchor Borrowers Program and have refused to pay. How then can you call this justice by any standard? Nelson Adefe says greed is Emefiele's problem and a lost focus even from the beginning of his appointment. However, he should be punished and dealt with for ruining the lives of several businesses and national economy. We need to race on to our second topic because of our time, BKO. The Labour Party as well as the PDP has rejected the judgment of the Supreme Court affirming the victory of President Bola Tinubu. While the PDP described the judgment as disappointing, the Labour Party is calling on the international community to rise and defend democracy in Nigeria. What's your assessment of their reactions so far?
Um, it's totally expected. I expected them to come out with eyes blazing, come out, show their anger at the way the judgment went. It's not totally um unexpected. Labour Party says it's a sad day uh, for Nigerian citizens committed to the birth of our country, and Abude called on the international community to rise and defend democracy in Nigeria, saying uh, the judgment has shredded, the judgment is shocking and surprising. Uh, I'm trying to see if I could even come up with this quote. We are indeed very shocked. He said, that the leadership of Labour Party watched as the sacred fabric of justice and good conscience was shredded today at the Supreme Court. We are indeed very shocked and surprised that even the apex court would toe the line of the earlier judgment in spite of the laws associated with the flaws associated with the judgment delivered by the Presidential Election Petitions Court. It is very clear that the executive has hijacked both the judiciary and the legislature. That is what Aburi said. I am particularly disappointed that a Nigerian could be calling on the international community to rise and defend democracy in Nigeria. How? How are they to rise and defend democracy in Nigeria? Is it by by intervening in our matters and chasing away a government that Nigerians voted for? I don't know how what Abure particularly meant, but again, I'm not really shocked that it went this far. Then, of course, the PDP also said it is disappointed by the outcome, having filed 86 grounds of appeal, with all those grounds dismissed for lack of merit. The PDP is in a fighting mode. They are very angry, and this is what the PDP is saying. It is indeed a sad commentary for our democracy that the Supreme Court failed to uphold the provisions of the law. Instead, it trashed the expectations of the majority of Nigerians who looked up to it as a temple of impartiality to deliver substantial justice in the matter regarding the cases, laws, and facts. Interestingly, the PDP, in its response, also talked about the matter of 25% in Abuja, arguing that it's a provision of the Constitution and that it shouldn't have been decided. Now, how do you still talk about 25% in Abuja as a condition for being elected president? You can't be talking about 25% in Abuja if you are a serious person. There is no country in the world where that stipulation is enshrined or is inserted into their electoral laws. I've been asking Nigerians to tell me which country in the world has such a stipulation that you must win a very small portion of the country before you can be president. I've always said that what this means, what this ridiculous argument means, is that you could actually win 36 states and not have 25% in Abuja. And for that reason, they will say you can't be president. Do these people sometimes think before coming up with this argument? Because how do you say that all Nigerians are equal electorally when you imagine that one small portion of our country, their votes are superior to the votes of the rest of us? Is it just because you want to win an argument that you then become irrational? I mean, it makes no sense for people to think in this manner. It makes absolutely no sense. Justice Anthony Inyangokoro said the people who sat down to write our constitution, if they wanted Abuja to have a special status, they would have said that in black and white. But what they meant was, oh, you need to have 25% in 24 states, including Abuja, which means that if you have 25% in 23 states and you had Abuja, that will make 24 for you. That's the intent of the Constitution. They never intended that one portion of our country, a very tiny portion, would then have the rights that other states do not have. What is in Abuja that you cannot find in Lagos or even Kano or Port Harcourt or Rivers? It's very ridiculous, and to think that the PDP will come up in response to their loss at the Supreme Court will be talking about 25%. It just shows me that the person who came up with the press statement does not know what he's doing. It's not even in America where we borrowed our version of democracy. Do we have this kind of situation? Nobody will say you must win California, as big as California is. California is bigger than many countries. Nobody will say you must win California. Nobody will say you must win New York, another very big state. Nobody will say you must win the oil producing Texas, big state as well. So this is a needless argument. The elections have been won and lost. The Supreme Court has made this decision clear. The attempt of the PDP and Labour Party to rubbish the integrity of the Supreme Court is something that I worry about, because when the Supreme Court gave a verdict in respect of the Osun governorship election, some of the issues that came up at the Presidential Election Petitions Court had already been decided, were similar to some of the issues decided during that Osun governorship election petitions trial. When they favored them, they hailed the judiciary. Today, because this verdict did not favor them, they are trying to rubbish the Supreme Court. They are trying to give the impression that there's nothing good in our judiciary. Yet, a good number of them had at one time or another benefited from the judiciary. No one is saying the judiciary is perfect. Of course, they made mistakes. But we do not have anywhere else to turn to. It still remains the last hope of the common man. Therefore, we should not run down the Supreme Court with our mouths.
That's right.